Welcome to another episode of Don't Panic Geocacher. In this video, I'm going to talk about a few time-saving tricks when solving geocaching puzzles. Recently, I ran to a puzzle again, and that made me think of some tricks that I use to solve puzzles faster, specific image-related tricks. So I'm going to show you those here, and hopefully it will help you save some time as well. My name is Arjen, and I go by Waterfan5 on the geocaching.com website. And I'm here to help you solve puzzles, and in this case, help you solve puzzles faster. So, when a puzzle cache has images, you may run into one or two problems that will either cost you a lot of time or may just stop you from solving it. The first one is that if you see a lot of text and you kind of need that text to help you solve that puzzle. Either it is a cipher and you need to decode it, or something else. And typing in that text can be very time consuming, and hopefully you don't need to do that. But sometimes you do, because the cache owner has decided to put all the text on the image. Well, I'm going to show you a quick way of how you can work with that image and still get the text from that. The second one is if the image is provided, but the image is really a low resolution and it might even be impossible to solve it in the resolution that's given. I'm going to show you another technique as well to sometimes help you get a higher resolution of that same image. At the end, I'll show you a third technique, a third thing to help, but I'll leave that kind of a surprise for now. So here is an example of both of those scenarios. So the left one is a maze that you have to solve, and maybe it gives coordinates, but it's really tiny and really small, and not quite sure what you're watching on, but if you're right now doing it on the phone, it would be super small, right? The second one is a bunch of text. I can tell you already, it's a Vigenère cipher, um, and you have to decode it, but it's given as an image. Nothing you can do with it, right? So I'm going to show you a technique that will help you with both these problems and make these puzzles easier to solve. The first one is that if you use Chrome, Chrome has a text extract feature in there. So that way you don't have to manually type the text. You can simply go to any image, not just on the geocaching.com website, and you can get all the text from it in a pretty high quality. I'm going to do that and show you that it's good, but not perfect. But it's easy and quick. So that will help you if you have to type a lot of text, and I will demonstrate it in a second. The second one is if the image is uploaded to the cache page, a higher resolution may actually be available. And I'm going to show you how to do that by changing the URL of the image and getting the higher resolution version. So with that, I created a fake mystery cache puzzle that's where both these techniques are useful. So here is that fake cache page. So I used it on my Don't Panic Geocacher account. And um, it is a typical puzzle that you may see where there's some kind of maze, and I purposely used a pretty big one, where you have to solve it to get a keyword, and that keyword then helps you decode the text. But I made two kind of fatal mistakes as a puzzle maker. The image included is very hard to see, right? Even if I make it a little bit bigger in a second, you will see it's pretty hard to solve. And the text is an image, meaning that if I have to decode this, I have to type this all out, which of course is very painstaking, right? It doesn't help me solve puzzles, it just takes time. So that's what I'm going to do here. This is not a published geocache, I just made it for this video. Now, let's start with the first one. If I take this image, and I can do open in a new tab by right clicking, that will make it a little bit bigger. So, but still, even if I zoom in, you could see it's a pretty low resolution, right? It's pretty hard to see. It's fuzzy. It is not really anything you can do with. And even with the text, it might actually be some letters might be hard to decipher because of the blurriness. Like for example here, you can see, well, which letters are those? Is there one letter, two letter there? This is almost unsolvable in this resolution. The maker of the puzzle may not have noticed this when they uploaded it because geocaching resizes the image if it is too big. So when they uploaded it, it might have been the correct resolution, but then it got resized, and we can see that. We can actually see the size. So I put an extension installed, allows me to open the image, and when I do that, it will also tell me the resolution, and it says it's 480 by 640, and that's a typical resolution, the 640, of how geocaching.com resizes an image. But in this case, there is actually a higher resolution available. And we can see that because if I open up the image, so I right clicked, did open image, new tab, it has an underscore L at the end. And if you see that on an image that is hosted by part of the geocaching.com website, then that means there is a better resolution available. They just don't give it to you by default because it saves them bandwidth. This typically happens if the image is uploaded as an image to the page, like this. If the image is too big, they will resize it to something smaller, something more palatable. But the old one is still available. So what I can do is I can remove the underscore L, and now I get the original, much higher resolution image. It still might be resized, but now it can be resized up to 2500 pixels. So now if I do open image, I will see that the resolution is 1200 by 1600, so about 4 times the size of the previous one. So much bigger, and as we can see, a much sharper image. And now when we actually zoom in, we can actually see that there were letters in the maze, something that in the other image. And if I reopen the other one again, so with the underscore L, that was not even noticeable. You couldn't even see that. Similar, if I go to the text, here I see the text with all the blurs. Well, in this one, the text is very clearly visible. It actually turned out to be 3 eyes. Very hard to guess that, right, out of this blurry image. So that is something to remember, that if you open up an image and you open it up even in a separate tab, if you see that underscore L, it might mean that there is a higher resolution one available that make it easier or quicker to solve. For the second part, I'm also going to use the higher resolution image since it will give me a better result. So we have the text here and it's now nice and crispy green. And you may have been aware that you can, with Google, you can use Google Lens, and that will search for the particular image or will search for a particular part of the image. So you can easily resize it. If the image has multiple pieces on it, you can only search for a specific area. But, and especially in the later editions, they've made it very easy. You can also have it extract text for you. So this is an image. I can say, well, I'm interested in this area. Give me all the text. And so it will highlight all the text that it found in the image, and I can just copy that across. So I could say copy, and now I didn't have to type it out. I basically have it. I already knew it was a Vigenère cipher because I had made the puzzle, right? But if I put it in here and use as the key, use Vigenère, we can now see that it is decoding the entire text. If you had to type all this by hand, a lot of work, but now it did it automatically. So note that it isn't necessarily perfect, so there might still be some errors in there. So for example, here you see that North 44, it misspelled it. So there might still be mistakes in there, but it's a lot easier to verify where the mistake is than to have to manually all type it out. So that is the second trick that I wanted to tell you. Now, as promised, I had a third trick as well, not really to do with specific with geocaching, but it is a useful trick, and it's specifically related to solving mazes like this. So I'm using here a tool called GIMP. It's a popular free editing tool, and it has the right features to make solving mazes easy. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that we can see it, and you can see nice crispy lines that is needed, and we can see those letters. Now, what you can do with this tool is the following. I can go to a selection tool, and I use the fuzzy select and I select one of the borders. So right here. So if I do that, so then it will select the borders of the image, but only those that are directly connected. So we see them now selected. And this is the image that I downloaded from the geocaching.com website. So that's the image basically as it came with the puzzle. And now I'm gonna grow the selection. So that's a specific feature of the of this editor, but many others have it as well. So Photoshop, all the ones have it. And I'll start initially with 3 pixels. And if you see that, then kind of like where initially it was only 1 pixel wide, it is now 7 pixels wide. So it's gotten wider everywhere. But it still isn't wide enough because we want this to become one big blob. So I'm going to grow it a little bit more. And I'm going to go grow and grow it by another 3 pixels. And now it pretty much is one big blob. There's some little dots in there, but they're not connected. They're not going to bother me. And you can already see that there is a line starting to form here. And that's what we're going to utilize. Now, with this selection, I'm going to create in this one, create a new layer, basically a new layer on my image, like this. But it has my selection still active. And that is important. And I'm going to use the fill feature, the bucket feature, and basically fill it in. And so now I have a big green blob with what is selected, other than those minor dots. Now I shrink my image again, and I'm just shrink it by a few pixels, let's say 2. Make it slightly smaller. And once I have shrunk it a little bit, I'm going to delete what I have done. So I'm going to say cut or delete. And now what is remained is the solution to the maze. So this is exactly the path of the solution to the maze. So you see right here that it starts right here and it nicely goes all through openings. And I didn't have to figure it out. This works best if you have very crispy lines. You may have to make the image a little bit more crisp, but if you have a good quality picture, so hence one of the tricks was very important, it makes it super fast to solve these mazes. And you see here, of course, it goes outside and stuff like that. We can ignore all that. We can also ignore all the dots. Those were just like little artifacts, but it has successfully solved the solution. This will work for almost all mazes if the puzzle and the image is clear enough. So this is also how we can see the solution. You can place letters along the line that in this case would give you the keyword, right? So if I hide this again, we see the letters Vigineer were exactly on that path, and it could have had many other letters, but only the ones on the path would be important, and that would then give the keyword. That's how the puzzle worked that I had to solve. So yeah, another trick, nothing really to do with geocaching, but just a useful trick to quickly solve mazes if you have a good quality image. So that was it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something new. Please like if you enjoyed something, if you learned something. It will help me know that you appreciated the video. Subscribe, that way you get notified when I publish new ones and you don't miss any new techniques in the future. I know some people are trying to reach me, have been a little bit busy lately, but feel free to reach out either on the Waterfan5 on the geocaching.com website, or you can contact me by email as well. With that, thank you very much and go solve some mystery caches.